What do we want?
Climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do you want?
Climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
A climate debate!
When do we want it?
Now!
Which side are you on now? Which side are you on? Which side are you on now? Which side are you on? Storms rage and fires burn, but you don't hear the call. The fossil fuels are paying you, does it weigh on you at all? Does it weigh on you at all? Does it weigh on you at all?
Once more now.
Which side are you on now? Which side are you on? Which side are you on now? Which side are you on? Storms rage and fires burn, but you don't hear the call. Cause fossil fuels are paying you, does it weigh on you at all? Does it weigh on you at all? Does it weigh on you at all?
When I say what do we want, you say climate justice. What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
When I say what do we want, you say clean air. What do we want?
Clean air!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Clean air!
When do we want it?
Now!
When I say what do we want, you say a livable future. What do we want?
A livable future!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
A livable future!
When do we want it?
Now!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down!
if we don't get it,
Shut it down!
we don't get it.
Shut it down!
All right, thank you everybody. Woo! My name is Adam Bolaños Scow and I am a candidate here for U.S. Congress in the beautiful 20th District. We are here because we have an existential climate crisis that demands bold solutions, and indeed that is one of the top reasons why I'm in this race. We have several experts here, several local leaders I want to invite up, and then I want to talk about what I stand for in terms of the climate solutions and where I think the incumbent falls short. So we are here today because the incumbent has dodged now 3 candidate forums where we should be debating these ideas. We should be debating the solutions to the climate crisis. Jimmy Panetta does not want to debate it, apparently, and we're going to talk about why, because we have some major differences with our climate policies and maybe he can't defend them. Before we get into that, I want to invite a few of our local climate leaders. First, I'd like to welcome up the president of Protect Monterey County, the organization that led the campaign to ban fracking here in Monterey County in 2016. Please welcome Dr. Laura Solorio. Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you. So what do we know about Jimmy Panetta's leadership in response to the climate crisis? We know that it has been weak with a proposed law that mostly benefits the polluters. I am supporting Adam Bolaños Scow for Congress because we need federal policy that will make significant change in this quickly evolving crisis. We need legislators who understand the science, risk, and the solutions. Jimmy has not been that person. And with his acceptance of thousands of dollars from corporations, he will not be that person. Jimmy did not support Measure Z over 4 years ago, a local measure that banned fracking, stopped new wells, new oil wells, and demanded a stop to contaminating our aquifers with wastewater. Speak with your vote now until Election Day on March 3rd, and let's send Adam Bolaños Scow to Congress to represent the Central Coast of California to help save the planet. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for all your leadership and work. Well, Measure Z was such a big victory because it was the first time that a community had banned fracking where the oil companies were already present. Indeed, we have a major oil field in the southern end of Monterey County, the San Howard oil field, operated by Chevron. We overcame $5.5 million spent by Chevron in the oil industry to pass Measure Z in 2016. The next speaker I want to bring up is on the solution side, a local solar developer in Santa Cruz. He's been on the cutting edge for decades. He's ready for a Green New Deal, and he's going to talk more about what that can look like locally here on the Central Coast. Please welcome Ron Swenson.
Yeah!
Thank you very much, Adam. I first want to say that I appreciate that you have taken it upon yourself to consult people who have some expertise in the field, because I know many politicians do not have the fortitude to really find out what it's all about. And I just want to say that I think that the solution is local for our community, and we have in our portfolio the equivalent of 10 barrels of oil a day. It's kind of like a strip of oil in Texas that is being produced from the solar systems that I've initiated in Salinas, Santa Cruz, and other parts of the county, the three-county area here. And I want to just say a word about water and oil, as was just said. Oil is a toxic material, and when you mix it with water, especially in an agricultural region, you're going to get some very damaging results. And I really want to say that it is incredible that Adam has led the charge to stop the fracking, which I might say furthermore is nothing but a retirement party. It is equivalent to scraping the bottom of the barrel. It is the fact that we have no grand reserves beyond this, and the day of reckoning is coming. And a way to think about that is to look at the financial record of ExxonMobil. They had, as of the last several years, gotten to the point where with $40 billion in debt, they are borrowing money to pay their dividends. We see a train wreck coming from the oil patch, and I'd like to say that we in our community can bring solar not only to our buildings, but also to our transportation system. And I will tell you all in due course about the solar mobility solution that takes in transportation as well as all the other types of services that we can produce with our own, exactly here, our own energy sources from our own community. Thank you again, Adam, for the opportunity to speak
Thank you,
out.
Ron.
I say, what do we want? You say, clean water. What do we want?
Clean water!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Clean water!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Clean water!
When do we want it?
Now!
Thank you. And I'd like to bring up, I'm so excited to be endorsed by Sunrise Movement in Salinas. The Sunrise Movement is leading the charge because we are very concerned if there's going to be a future for future generations, if there's going to be any future, if this planet is going to be habitable. That is why we are here. The Sunrise Movement is leading that charge nationally, and I'm honored to have the endorsement of the Sunrise Movement in Salinas. I'd like to just welcome one of their representatives, their leaders, their co-founders, Mateos Lozano, to say a few words. Mateos.
Loud.
Put simply, our decision to endorse Adam has solely been because of just how bold his climate solution is. Unlike Jimmy Panetta, Adam has a solid plan to transfer off of fossil fuels by the year 2030 and rejuvenate our green energy economy. Unlike Jimmy Panetta, Adam has taken zero money from fossil fuel corporations in any kind.
Whoa!
Adam is entirely funded by people like you and I, grassroots only. And Adam has an extensive history of working and consulting with local leaders in our community, and he has been on the front lines in fighting to ban fracking in Monterey County.
Thank you, Mateos. Thank you, Mateos. A little bit about me. I was the Estate Director for Food and Water Watch, in which I had the pleasure and honor of working with community leaders in Monterey County, in San Benito County and Santa Cruz County to ban fracking in 2014 and 2016. I've been an environmental advocate my whole life. I am in this race because this is our last chance to turn this thing around. We are headed off of a climate cliff right now. All of the scientific reports that come out, the latest one, each gets worse. A more harrowing picture of what this planet is going to look like unless we make rapid and a bold transition to clean energy. We have more renewable energy than ever before. The problem is that we're not decreasing the fossil fuel energy. And that is going to take a fight with corporate power. If a bipartisan deal with Republicans and corporate America was going to solve the climate crisis, I would not be running for Congress. This is not an easy thing. This is not a casual thing. This is about our survival. And so that is why I strongly favor a Green New Deal plan that at its core says we have to have a 100% renewable electricity grid by 2030. We have the Clean Air Act. We passed the Clean Air Act from the 1970s that gives us the legal power to regulate and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Now it's time for the federal government to lead and say we got to do this. We're going to help local communities do this. What is that going to look like here in our district? Right now, PG&E has us hostage. When there's a fire 200 miles away, they shut off our power. They shut off UC Santa Cruz for 2 days. They shut me off in Watsonville for 2 days because they have failed to modernize our grid. When we have a Green New Deal, we're going to have public power, like the folks in Los Angeles enjoy, Sacramento, Palo Alto, and we're going to hire people to build local microgrids so we can have local clean power in every city in our district. Monterey, Seaside, Salinas, Watsonville. That is going to be at the core of the Green New Deal. We're also going to invest in public transportation and electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are an important part of the solution, but they're not universal. We got to have public transit. Look at how bad the traffic is in our district every day on Highway 1, on Highway 68, on Highway 25. We are not engaging in smart planning. So that's why it's equally important with the Green New Deal. We're going to have affordable housing and we're going to have public transportation to get our workforce around. Right now it's not happening. It is very unaffordable to live in Monterey County and Santa Cruz County. In fact, they are two of the least affordable counties in the United States. So we're going to address our pollution and the affordability crisis with the Green New Deal. Finally, we're going to invest in sustainable agriculture. If we manage our soils properly, they can help store carbon. We have to get away from factory farming. NASA did a study here in California. They flew a satellite and they took photos over California, and they found the 3 largest hotspots for emissions were factory farms, oil and gas facilities, and landfills. So that is why I am strongly in favor of a transition to sustainable agriculture, breaking up big ag companies that are forcing a get big or get out model so we can have mid-sized and small family farms. And let's be clear, we cannot continue to have fracking, not in Monterey County or not anywhere in this country. The United States has to lead by example, and that is why we need a national ban on fracking. And that'll be part of the Green New Deal. Not just on public lands like Panetta says, not just offshore, but everywhere in this country we have to decrease the amount of methane and carbon dioxide that we have in the atmosphere. When Bill McKibben, who's endorsing my campaign, started 350.org, there was about 365 parts per million for CO2. We are now at 413. So this is why we need bold action. This is why I'm running for Congress. I have to talk a little bit about my opponent's plan. This is the reason why we're having a contest. It's not a coronation. Panetta, many of you were trying to get him to sign on to the resolution for the Green New Deal. He was one of the last Democrats to sign to that resolution. But now we need to move beyond resolutions. We are talking now about legislation. Well, Panetta introduced the bill. Panetta's bill is a carbon fee that takes that money and supports factory farm gas and pays oil companies to try to inject their carbon dioxide underground as they continue to drill for oil. That is too little, too late. We cannot have major loopholes in our climate policy. And this factory farm gas is not going to work. We have some of these hot spots, these mega dairies, these mega factory farms. They are lobbying for us to pay to bring methane gas from their factory farms to the coast. That is not renewable energy. This is a solar panel here. Thank you, courtesy of Ron Swenson. Solar, wind, and geothermal are clean energy, not factory farm excrement, methane. Mateos, can you please provide a visual representation just so that everybody understands what we're talking about when we're talking about factory farm manure and the gas created by it, what that looks like. Thank you. This is actually, yeah, we have a cow patty here, and this is exactly what Panetta thinks is clean energy. I disagree. This is what I think clean energy is. This is what Panetta is supporting with a carbon fee. There's a very big difference. 2030, not 2050. And so I want to thank everybody for being here today. We are in this race to win this race. We are looking forward to March 3rd primary. And let me just say one more thing. Now that I've talked about the climate policy differences, the differences demand that we have a debate. If Panetta thinks that this is the best policy for us, let's have him defend it. But maybe he can't defend it. But let's have the voters, let's respect the voters and have a debate. That's what democracy is all about. He is avoiding Sunrise Santa Cruz has invited the candidates to debate tomorrow night in Santa Cruz. It took Panetta 4 days to get back to Sunrise Santa Cruz that he had an excuse. It took him 4 days to think of an excuse as to why he could not attend a debate on the most important issue of our lifetime. We think that's unacceptable, it's disrespectful, and we call on Panetta to show up and debate and not just hide behind his commercials. Let me just say a word about his commercials. The commercials are funded by corporations. 75% of the money Panetta has ever raised comes from corporate America. 100% of our donations are coming from the people. And that's how democracy is supposed to work. It's not to the highest bidder. Right now we have a Congress that's bought and paid for. We're going to change that by winning races like these. So thank you everybody so much for being out here today. And I want to hear a little more chanting led by our folks from the Sunrise Movement. Let's get some chants.
When I say, what do we want? You say, Green New Deal. What do we want?
Green New Deal!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
A Green New Deal!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
A Green New Deal!
When do we want it?
Now!
When I say, what do we want? You say, climate justice. What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down!
If we don't get it,
Shut it down!
We don't get it,
Shut it down!
We don't get it.
Shut it down!
Climate debate.
Climate debate! 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 Climate debate!
You guys want to sing a song?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, no.
This is the director of the Center.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for coming. And thank you. I'm actually going to talk to Jimmy and see if I can convince him to debate you. So we'll see. All right, and I'm gonna
Hey, wait a sec. There is a debate tomorrow night. Santa Cruz.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe you can do that maybe on a different
Excellent.
time. I will urge
Schedule it here, I'll show up. We'll do it right here. I'll be there.
We support you.
Hello. Thanks so much.
Which side are you on now? Which side are you on?
Which side are you on now? Which side are you on? Storms rage and fires burn, but you don't hear the call. 'Cause fossil fuels are paying you, doesn't weigh on you at all. Doesn't weigh on you at all. Doesn't weigh on you at all.
One more time.
Which side are you on now? Which side are you on? Which side are you on now? Which side are you on? Storms rage